Nice to meet you, and
Nice to
thank
meet you,
you
George.
so much for doing the interview with
It's
us.
a pleasure for me to be here.
And so yeah, I would love to know how you started. Like, what was your educational background?
Right. Actually, I don't come from a traditional education background. Like any CEO would probably go to school, do an MBA, or I started out more as a youth counselor. Like actually, and I was lucky to get there because like when I was in my high school, my goal was to become a hockey player. Like I was working so hard to become a professional hockey player, and at 17-year-old, I just realized that I wouldn't make it to the big league. And at that point, I didn't even have an high school diploma. So I actually, when I was in the Quebec education, you go to secondaire 1, that would be like a grade 8 or grade 9. Well, when I got to high school, I failed my first grade 8. Then I did it again, and I was like a little bit disappointed to be in school with people that were a year younger than me. And in grade 10, I failed again. So there was no way for me that I would go back into high school with people that are 2 years old, younger than me. And at this point, I didn't realize that I had a severe attention disorder, and that actually was a big weakness for me. That took a few years before I realized that attention disorders become one probably of my greatest strength. And once I was able, actually, after I played for the All Olympic, and once this career was over, well, I had to restart my elementary school and my high school. So actually, within a year, I was able to go back to school, and I just did the basic, like whatever it needed. I always say for joke, and it is not a joke actually, that my high school diploma is as good and valid as a diploma that I would get out of a Cracker Jack box. Like, it didn't worth anything. So it was hard for me to get into program, and I was lucky enough at that point when La Cité Collégiale, so Algonquin had a French program and an English program. I guess the French program became big enough so that they could have a French college. So La Cité Collégiale opened up, and there was a few programs like law and security, correctional services, and at that point I wanted to become a cop, but there was no way I could get into technique policière and all that thing. So there was a place in that correctional facility program, and it was actually, this is where I learned how to become a youth counselor. And I did my correctional services degree, actually work into a youth counseling. I work as a youth counselor in the youth detention center for the Robert Smart Center. And then I applied as a correctional officer at the All Detention Center. And during that process, as was always the goal of becoming a cop, but I knew that I was coming from far and I needed to catch up. So I worked as a youth counselor, went to university, got a few courses in criminology, and it wasn't like, for me, traditional school system is really hard. Like going to university for somebody that has an attention disorder, really hard to organize itself. And as soon as you're not looking or doing something that passions you, well, you lose interest. And when you lose interest, that's it. So for me, every time I was studying something that I had passion for, I was really exceeding. But whenever I was looking and studying something that I didn't really had any interest, I was not feeling, but feeling bad, like big time. So luckily, I was able to be accepted at the French technique policière, so to become a police officer. I was in my 20s working as a youth counselor, detention, correctional officer, and then I was able to get accepted as an adult student. So every year they take, I don't know, like 300 people, and they like get 10 place for adult that like to go back to school, and I was one of them. So I did actually my technique policière for 2 years, working as a correctional officer, working overnight, doing school during the day, and at the end of my program, I became a police officer and worked as a police officer for 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
And at that point, I thought I've achieved my dream. Like it was, my God, like all of my friends that were cop have been cop for like 5 years, and I came so much late because of my background and how difficult it took me to get to that. And finally I was there, I was a cop, and it was really exciting, but it wasn't what I expected. Like seriously, when you're a kid and you think about what is a job that you would like to do, and you think about, oh, like I'd like to be a police officer, and it's all about the excitement of doing this job. And quickly you realize that you're more like a secretary of justice. Like I remember I said to people, like I was in my police car, and after 2 months I ran out of ink in my pen. And I said, I think in my whole high school I could have used the same pen. And in 2 months as a police officer, I ran out of ink. I was writing those report is just driving me crazy. And I always say for people, like, you know what? For 30 seconds of action, there's 3 hours of paperwork. Like, get this gun out of the oyster and that's it. You're done. You got a weekend of paperwork to do. Wow. Don't pull the gun. It was like, but this is actually not a joke. This is serious. Like whenever you get these special incidents, you're just like hours and hours just writing, reporting the system and everything. So anyways, at that point, I was working out to do the Ottawa Marathon, and I started to work out like in January, and I remember how difficult and the program to work to the program that I had to do a marathon was really intensive. And in let's say late February, I came back to the police station, talked to my friend about, oh my God, my legs are so sore. I did this 2-hour run this weekend, and can't feel my legs anymore. And one of the guys said, oh my God, I went to a place in the Laurentian, this amazing thermocycle program where you go into a sauna and you jump into the river. Said indoor, outdoor? No, outdoor. Like you go there, you do the sauna, you jump into the river, you'll just feel amazing. So I looked it up. It was the Polar Bear Club in the Laurentian, I think in Mont Saint Sauveur, and I decided to go there for a weekend. And even today, I still remember that day like it was tomorrow, because that has been the turning point in my life. Like I got there, I remember it must have been like close to minus 30. And I was looking at all these people coming out of the sauna, jumping themselves in the river. And my first thought was, my God, these people are crazy. Like I got my scarf, my hat on, my mitts, and I'm freezing. These people are almost naked in the river. So like, but it was like, it was more like a challenge. So let's go. I decided to do it, and I still remember going into that sauna, and it was like a whole sauna with a wood stove. It kept that like at 210 degrees. It was like I wasn't dripping, I was drooling, and I was just looking at the water outside. I didn't care how cold it was. I was just dying to go and take a dive in the river, and came out of the sauna, jumping to the river. Oh my God! Like came out of there, my heart rate went like through the roof, and out of the sudden, I didn't feel any cold. Like I was just there outside, my body was steaming, and I couldn't imagine that I could handle minus like 25, barely naked, and the adrenaline level was so high. So as soon as my body temperature started to lower down, I went to one of the relaxation rooms and felt the transformation between the adrenaline to endorphin. And at that point, I had the same exact relaxation feeling that I usually have after a 2-hour run. And I couldn't believe that within 10-12 minutes, I was actually in the same state of mind that I was after running for 2 hours. So my head started spinning, and I couldn't imagine why there isn't any spa like this in Ottawa, in the Ottawa region. And came out of that weekend, and I still remember, like I tell everybody, like I look at the company today, and we have over 600-700 people, and I have multiple companies, but I said everything started off, I opened a computer, I went, open Word, and there was a blank sheet. And I just went, spa project, bold, out of the line, and start putting up idea. I still remember that. And it's like, so where do I start from there? What's my background? I don't know anything about business. I don't know anything about finance. I'm a police officer and a youth counselor. So like, where do we start from? Where? So at that point, the only thing I knew how to do was an investigation. I said, well, I need to learn more about this. And it's funny because I've always the same story that I told everybody. I said when I was a police officer, was one of the investigators that actually investigated a murder case. And short story, the guy has been killed, put into a sleeping bag, and they put him in concrete and put him in the river. A few years later, body comes up, they pick up everything, and this guy was in charge of the investigation. They started from the concrete and started with the lab to investigate where was the sand was coming from to do the concrete. And this guy became so much knowledgeable. He knew more about concrete than anybody else. He's still a police officer.
Yeah.
Just like police officers that are investigating anything that has to do with IT or stuff like that, they become expert. Like you do a big investigation, you come out of that investigation, you're fully educated on whatever you have to investigate on. So it was like, let's do this. Let's investigate that. Let's see why am I feeling like this, and where else in the world is there any facility like that? So I said to everybody, I've traveled all over the world to do my project, but the budget was so small that everything's been done on the internet. So today I can say that I've traveled all over the world and I've done all of these amazing spots. But when I started, it was only information that I can get out of the internet.
Okay.
So started to do this business model, worked out, and at that point I had a good friend that is today my partner, Dan, and we both, when we were youth counselor, my dream was to become a cop, and he was studying to open a little marketing firm, and he was doing small business plans. So I remember talking to Dan and said, look, I think I have an amazing business idea, but I need somebody to help me structure it. So would you be able to prepare the work with me, for me, and get a business plan together? So I said, well, what do you want to do? And I explained to him, I said, look, I did this amazing experience. You absolutely need to experiment it, and then we could talk a little bit about it. So Dan went at the same place, did it, and for a week, like, he didn't know how to tell me that he didn't want to work for me. He wanted to be part of this, like. And he's somebody that is just like me, that has that put wellness in a higher level of priority in our life. So he said, look, I will work the business aspect and I can take care of the administration. And the one thing that I didn't say is that during that process of working on that project, I started off a little project management company. And as a cop, I built 2 houses. So, you know, when you're a cop, you're like, you wait 1 week, you're on your overnight, and you have 1 week off. So I started by buying a 4-unit building, and did all the renovation. That building burned down. I ended up being a contractor and rebuild the whole thing.
Wow.
You could have talked to me and asked me anything about renovation. I would tell you, go to Renault Depot, all 4, you would have that, this, and there.
Wow, okay.
I knew a lot about construction because I love to do it also. Like, I like to screw, dig, screw, hammer, like anything. Like, I love to have a construction boot in my feet. So at one point I decided to build a house, and while I was building a house, everybody was stopping saying, are you a builder? I said, no, I'm building my house. Oh my God, that was in the year 2000, so construction was like this. Builders were very busy, and I decided, oh, I could probably do that as a sideline. I could open a project management company. And well, when I decided that, okay, not only I want to open a project management company, but I want to stop being a cop. And I wanted to do the spa project, and by opening a project management company would allow me to work, to earn, to live, and also to work on my spa project. So I did that, and at that point I decided to sell everything. So I was about in my 30s, and I sold my house in Chelsea that I built. I sold my 4-unit building that I had in Ottawa that was renting, and I went back living in my parents' basement. So I was 30 years old, I was single, living in my parents' basement, and running a little project management company. working on the spa project, and my partner was working the business plan. We've actually put up a really nice concept, and then I would say that the probably biggest hill or the biggest obstacle that I had to go over was to finance that project. So the Nordik project, when I first started, was a $3.2 million project. The money I was able to get from selling my house and selling my 4-unit building was close to $80,000. So definitely not enough. I was looking actively for a site and found this amazing place in Chelsea. So I remember going to the bank, and this is how I could say stupid I was. I thought that I could buy a property with 5% down, just like you could buy a house. 5% down. And then I got the first hammer right in the forehead. Like, all right, you want to buy a lot? This is 50% down. Oh my God! So, and at that point, actually, this is where I decided to sell everything and to put everything that I got into that deposit to buy that property in Chelsea to open a spa. And my B plan was, well, if that doesn't work, I'll do a subdivision and I'll sell the lot and I'll go back working as a police officer. So I've turned myself at that point into a real estate developer. And not only a real estate developer, like during the day, I was literally a lumberjack. Like I remember going to the rental store, buying a chainsaw, going and get everything I need and starting to cut a road through that mountain. And at that point, I was working as a project manager. I didn't pay myself anything. I couldn't lift the money to do the project. So the only thing that was left for me to do was look at my property and keep enough land to develop a spa and take all of the residual land and subdivide it into a few property and sell it so that I'm able to get the financing, because obviously I didn't have the money. And what really put me on the map at that point was I got a good price, because I actually bought that property and it was en fact. So a property that was on residential. Took me over a year and a half to have it subdivided and changed into a commercial property. And everybody that was paying, I remember going to the surveyor, said, okay, I need to survey these lots, and I didn't have enough money. I said, look, could you just put a pin in front of each lot, and I promise you, as soon as I sell one, I will pay you. And I was lucky enough to have a friend that had an excavation company that was doing septic fill, and they don't do any septic fill during the winter, so he told me, I will lend you my shovel. Just pay my driver, and whenever you'll sell your first lot, you can pay me whatever you want, whatever I owe him. So I was privileged enough to have people that believed in me, and also my parents, because at one point when I purchased that property, I was able to put a deposit, but everybody wants guarantee, and my parents said, look, okay, to the price you're paying this lot, the potential that there is into it, we're willing to co-sign so that you are able to purchase the lot. So not that I'm coming from a family that is, I don't like to say it, but very, now we could say poor. We could say poor. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been educated by my parent that we don't waste. We don't. I always say to everybody, I remember doing muffin and putting the dough into all these little cups, and at the end they look at me and said, if you scratch enough, you'll get another one. So one day, if you're in business, that one is your profit, the other one is your expense. That's funny, because that story is so true. Running a restaurant, I'm telling you, the profit are so thin, you better scratch every penny so to be able to make money with a restaurant business. But anyhow, that was where I came from. Very economist. I was splitting every penny in half, everything that I could do myself. And that didn't serve me well when I started as a business person, because I was just trying to do everything that I can. So like I was working 80, 90 hours a week, trying to do it all. And at that point, I was working in the business instead of working at the business. So I could say that today, after 15 years being a CEO, there was a big learning curve for me from starting from scratch, going to today, and having to learn how to become a CEO. And so anyhow, we finally were able to put a plan together, put the lot for sale, and within a month, I think I was able to sell all the property. And that has actually not only brought revenue, but also when we sold the property, we were able to establish a value of the property. The land that we bought, the value went to a point where it was sufficient enough to act as a deposit on that project. And the Nordik project, phase 1, was $3.2 million. So we were able to finance that project, and started within, I think it took about a year to do all the plans, and it took about 14 months to build. And as soon as we started, it was a success. Like it was, there's been so much work and so much passion. And one of the things for me that was important was, I remember when I started to do my investigation on that wellness industry, and one of the things and why it was so difficult to finance a project is that everybody was saying that will never work. That will never work. Like, you're going to spend $3.2 million for people to go and take a bath and pay $35 to take a bath outside during the winter. Like, that will never work. So that was one thing that I had to actually work through, like to have people believing in the project. And if you want to have the people to believe in the project, first you have to have them to believe in you. And if you don't believe in yourself, you're dead. It's like, if you don't believe in yourself, you'll never sell the story to anybody. So like, this is first started to convince yourself if you want to convince somebody else. And I was pretty convinced, and I think I was able to convince a few people that that was a good idea. And from that $3.2 million project where everybody said that it will never work, well, 15 years later, we're looking at an Nordik, and this is a $38 million investment throughout these years. Every year I was expanding, and I was reinvesting. The first 10 years, I remember, the first 10 years, I always had at least 4 or 5 employees that was earning more money than I was. Because I was paying myself basic salary, I was paying people good money because I knew that I needed to surround myself with the right people. I knew that I didn't need. I knew that I didn't know enough, that I need to put the right people in place. And that has served me really well. Like, I remember when I first started the spa, people were always saying, where's the owner? How come he's not behind the counter? And I've always said to myself, I'm not going to build a business that's going to depend on me. And that came from a book that everybody heard, like the Good to Great book, and the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's just like, you put the right people in place if you want to be successful. And I've never had any problem putting people that are smarter than me. Actually, I've always said to everybody, as a CEO, my job is to set the vision, to put the right people in place, and I just plow the way, and I just want to make them shine, because they're all smarter than me at what they do. I don't mean that these people would be able to do what I do, but to be able to be successful, you got to put people that are smarter than you in different roles. And I think that has been serving me pretty well in the last couple of years. So today, we have this $38 million investment. If I would have to rebuild the Nordik, because we're talking about $38 million that started 15 years ago, today it would cost about $55 to $60 million to rebuild the Nordik. And we are going to be adding another 15 million in the next 2-3 years to get the experience to another level, because this has always been part of my value, to bring it to another level. And I was about to say about when I was doing the feasibility study, is that spa and the wellness wasn't accessible to Mr. and Mrs. It wasn't accessible. Like, if you look at a family income, to be able to afford to go to a spa, you needed to have a $250,000 income. So who could afford that? How many family in Ottawa has a family income of $250,000? And this is one of the big reasons why I didn't believe in my project. I said, wrong audience. I said, no. I said, we need to have wellness and well-being accessible. And it's by doing a facility that it's, yes, some people find they go to the Nordik and said, well, there's 500 people on site. Yes, but if there would be 100 people on site, you would pay $500 to come in. Because like this is a 36, this is like at today's world, it's $60 million of infrastructure. Otherwise we'll pay back a $60 million infrastructure and pay almost $500,000 of energy bill, having this open tub open by letting people in for $75. Like just do the math, it doesn't work. And but people are smart and people are educated and they realize that the bang for the buck is amazing. For $75, you can spend a whole day going from a sauna to a hot tub, doing a special event like the August that all included in the main price. And for those that are interested in having extra treatment like massage or facial, going to the restaurant, it's all accessible and it's all around. The center, the core of the experience is the thermotherapy, alternating hot, cold, and relaxation. And then what's happening in your system, it's pretty easy. Like that technique has been used for over 1,000 years. Like and the sauna culture, 100 years ago, sauna was very popular because what actually killed the sauna culture 50 years ago was the evolution of medicine. When people could start to take anything that the people have today, in today's world, there's a pill for it. But when this pill wasn't existing, people were using alternative medicine. And this is why we see so much of that alternative medicine coming back. But the sauna culture was prevention. When you're doing this thermocycle, you're going into hot, you're raising your body temperature. But actually you're not raising that body temperature that much. We think that we're raising our body temperature, but our body temperature only raised by about 1 degree. That's it. So you can, or else
because you're sweating.
You would imagine, like your body temperature is 97, if your body temperature would go to 110, it would find a die. So but your body temperature raised a little bit. But when you jump into cold water, what it actually does is it sends your nervous system a signal. And your nervous system doesn't know that you're in a cold plunge and you'll be out of it in 30 seconds. Your brain captured that I'm in cold water, my body temperature is dropping, I'm gonna die. This is what my body is telling me. So what's gonna happen? I'm gonna send you as much adrenaline that I can so that you could survive that drop of temperature. Because if you would be in a lake, you would need that energy, that adrenaline to survive. You would actually need that. But coming out of the water 10 seconds later, that adrenaline in your body is way too much. So what is actually the body does? And we've all learned that in our chemistry course. It always balances itself. So that adrenaline gets transformed into endorphin. And for any athlete, everybody knows what an endorphin buzz is. So it's a way to get relaxed without doing any physical effort. Just doing hot, cold, and relaxation. And it actually also triple your white blood cell, and it boosts your immune system. So it's a tradition that I wanted to share. It was like something that's like, how come there isn't more people like, why? I'm looking at this and I don't think, and I've never thought that I'm the smartest guy out there. Always been an average person. Like, you put me in a group, I'll be average. You put me with smarter people, I'll be average. You put me with lower people, I'll be average. So it's like, there's always somebody smarter than me. How come nobody has thought about that before? So I had a lot of doubt about, oh my God, is this gonna work? Is this gonna go? So I really had to convince myself first to be able to convince others. And while I was convinced, I said, okay, we need to do this. This is gonna work, and we're gonna bring wellness to another level. We're gonna bring well-being to another level so that it is accessible. That somebody's doing $30,000-$40,000 per year could at least pay himself a day of wellness. And through that wellness, we want to educate the people. Educate the people how the importance of taking care of yourself. And I'm the type of person that thinks that you could actually change somebody's life just in a minute. Like I talked to people for 2-3 minutes, just had a coffee. They told me something that changed my life. Breathing, like we all breathe, we all do, we need to, but if you learn how to breathe right, it could change your life. So there's little things that could be achieved. And the Nordik is working towards that direction. Guided meditation, everything that things people that could do while they are doing the activity. And this is something, meditation is gaining so much popularity because it's amazing the effect that it has on people. And there's study in the lower incomes area. They started in these high school to have a meditation session, and it's amazing the result that they have just by forcing the kids to do 5 minutes in the evening and 5 minutes in the afternoon, and to clear your mind just for that 10 minutes during the day, all the space that it frees up. So these are the type of things that I think that we'll see evolving in the next few years when we're talking about wellness. Because wellness is a big word. Everybody's like wellness. There's wellness everywhere. And if I look at my industry, well, the spa industry is just 5% of the wellness industry. Like wellness is, I think, an $18 billion industry. There's a lot more wellness happening at the supermarket, and everything that has to do with all the treatment that you could do at home, the essential oil, the yoga, the meditation, name it, like the foodies. Wellness is all over the place. Construction, like we're looking at how do we build a building with better air, how do we have better water, how do we do sustainable building. But this is something that really strike me is that we have put more attention towards our building. We're building, and we want to have LEED building. We want to have building that is good for the environment. Could we do a building that is good for the human first? I'm totally an environmental person. Like I like to do. I just bought 300 acres of land because I want to be a zero carbon free for myself. But whenever we think about a building, could we first think about the people that will be living in it to make sure that we got good air, we got good water, good circulation, and we're not using any material that is actually could affect my. There are so many chemical that we put in all these products that is getting free to the air that we breathe. So for me, the more and more that I develop, I want to make sure that I use the right material, and I want to have the last impact on my building, on the human, and then I think about energy efficiency and all of these things. But to be conscious about the impact of the building on the human and the architecture and the design also. Like I think you can actually treat people with the design. Like we've all went to a really expensive hotel, and it was nice, but it was just like, I don't know what I'm feeling, but I feel quite weird. And went to other places where all of a sudden you feel home. Yeah. Why am I feeling home when I'm here and I'm not when I'm there? And what is it the level of luxury? Well, people don't see luxury the same way. Today, luxury, people pay a lot more attention about the experience. And this is how I'm driving my vision. Like I've been inspired by a company like Disney. Like I think when you talk about customer service, Disney is amazing. Like I don't know any company that does it better. I like Four Seasons, amazing customer service. But when I look at experience, can't think of anybody else than the Cirque du Soleil. And you look at the Cirque du Soleil, how the angle that they took. They first started to do a show, and the show was limited to the infrastructure. So if you want to take an artist and throw him in the air 50 feet, but the ceiling is 30 feet, well, you got a problem there. So when Guy Laliberté decided to do a show, not thinking about the infrastructure, and they did it with Love, the Beatles show, and they looked at, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to have a show, a platform like this, and we want to have the artists coming here, and this is how the move that they're going to do, and I would like to have the people looking at the show from this angle, and this angle, and we're going to be throwing people in the air, so the roof has to be in that angle. And then they came up and said, okay, now let's build a building for the show, not a show for the building. And that's a major game changer. And I looked at this and I said, oh my God, this is how I need to build my infrastructure. And if we look at today, what we're doing, for those that came to the Nordik, everybody loved to do the obvious ritual, the infusion ritual, but we're designing ritual, then we're looking at, okay, where the stove need to be, and how do we do the bench, and once this is over, we're gonna have to clean this whole thing. What do we need? And everything is built around the experience, and I think that makes a big difference. And after 15 years, there's been so much hit and miss, and there's a lot of money that has been lost into things that we didn't do right. And you can hire architect, engineer to do these things, but you need a vision and you need the experience to be able to take it to the other level. And I think this is one thing that we've achieved through the year. It was painful sometimes to do things that weren't working properly. I've always said to people, like, everybody loved to do the hamac. Like, we have heated hamac. This is like pretty simple, a hamac, you put heating in it. Well, I think I'm now down to about $60,000 of R&D, how to figure out how to put heating in the hamac. The right wire, the right tissue. We do this one, doesn't work, do this one, doesn't work. Sometimes people don't realize it could take a year or two to have this little experience that is called heated hamac, minus 30, you're sitting outside, all cuddled, and this is so nice. Well, it just doesn't come like this. It takes a lot of, but working with passionate people and giving these projects, is like, I cannot do it all, and I need to surround myself with great people. And for me, my role is actually to be contagious about my passion and my vision, so that I have a lot of people around me trying to create this amazing experience, and to me trying things, and this is actually where I am looking at the future. All the traveling that I've been doing, looking at the salt pool, the Cala, came from an experience that I did in Switzerland. Came back to Canada, went to my engineer, said, I want to have a floating pool, and then they told me it's impossible. I said, no, I saw it in Switzerland. No, they take the water from 2 kilometers underground with the salt. So for anybody out there that has an idea and somebody's telling them that it's impossible, you probably have a gold mine in your hand, because it's when nobody thinks about something, if you could overachieve that, you have probably something. So I said, perfect, if everybody thinks it's impossible, I will realize it and it will be unique. If you realize something that's impossible, it's going to take a while before somebody's able to do it. And started this Cala experience. It cost $1.8 million to reproduce the Dead Sea. Every time, whenever we do a startup, we have to put $10,000 worth of salt in that pool, and it cost about $100,000 salt just to keep it with the backwash and everything. And now we're going to be building our second one in our Whitby facility. But I remember the commissioning, like, we must waste about $60,000 of salt trying to get the right chemistry, working with all the equipment, the engineer ripping their hair out of their skull to try to figure out how this thing will work. But it's with persistent, and it's everything. Like, I started from scratch, nobody believed in the project, and it's with being persistent, and I think it's like any athlete, like, you've been doing sports, like, there is anybody that gets to the Olympic without being obsessed about being persistence, and you just needed to want it more than the other person behind you. It's like, and that was a long first question.
Yeah, but it was amazing.
And it's 3:30.
But that's okay. Can I have one more thing?
Yeah, but I think this. Did we cover the question?
We covered
We
pretty much everything. Yeah.
But I wanted to tell you that when I first went to Nordik Spa, you inspired me. And the way you inspired me, because I am an athlete and I'm a personal trainer. At the same time, as a personal trainer, I know that when you train, you create inflammation.
Yeah.
And the best thing for inflammation is ice water. Sure. And you hear about the Ottawa Senators. After a game, every game, they go in cold baths, ice water.
Football player too.
So you know what I came up with? I thought of something. So I bought this massive house in Paquette, all stone. It has an indoor swimming pool.
Nice.
So what I came up with, I made the swimming pool cold. It's at 55 degrees. The idea is, instead of being in the sauna, I believe let's increase our temperature inside by a very, very intense workout. so then you are hot from inside. Now I don't know how much temperature your body goes up, but then after that, instead of jumping into a swimming pool, you swim laps.
Yeah.
So that combination, immediately,
Yeah.
you get your high, your cardio is 10 times faster. So you're using the adrenaline to sprint, and then you get an incredible glow after.
I can imagine.
Kind of the same thing, but there's something physical instead of sitting in it.
Have you heard about the Iceman?
Yes,
This guy's a bit.
he meditates, right?
Yeah, into ice cold water. Not only meditate, just through breathing, he's able to regulate his body temperature.
Yeah.
It's like I want to get this guy into a conference one day. We'll go to his conference. Like, yeah, the Iceman is. But yeah, it's incredible the power of healing of the
Cold water. It's amazing. Like psychologically, so anyone, if I have a client who's very depressed or has any negative emotions, tell them to sprint in the cold water. That's it. There's no more emotions. Your adrenaline, like you said, boosts you up, but emotionally you're free.
Yeah.
You got no anger. You've got no depression.
How did you keep it at 55? You had a chiller?
No. I don't heat it.
You just don't.
I just don't heat the swimming pool.
Okay. And it keeps at.
Well, 55, ça monte jusqu'à 65. It goes up.
Okay. So during the summer you're able to.
Yeah.
Because we need to cold. We need to use like. This is one thing that I've invented was like I needed to get the pool and I had a chiller and if I remember the first chiller cooling the pool throwing. At one point I said, my God, like I can't imagine we're wasting all that energy. And then came up with the system, talked to my engineer, recover that energy. I'll find a way. Recover. And we started to chill a pool and throw all the energy in the hot tub. Well, there was so much energy coming out of the cold pool because I heated the hot tub and it was too hot. So it's like, okay, we need to throw the energy somewhere else now.
Wow.
Like, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Wow.
So during the summer, the pool that I'm chilling, I get enough energy to eat all the hot tub. So I'm wasting zero energy. I have zero consumption during the winter, during the summer.
That's amazing.
Because it's all energy recovery.
Wow.
But it's all, this is all at this point we're like, we're tuning the machine. Like we're just like, okay, how could we improve this? How could we improve this? How could we make this better? How could we make that better? So, but this is a good idea. Do you have a gym at your place also?
Yeah, so it's around 10,000 square foot house.
Okay, wow.
A big yoga studio, big gym.
This is an Elmer.
Pas Champlain, yeah. La maison, I don't know if you've ever heard.
Private.
On est sur 1 sur 1.
Ah, one-on-one.
So 10 000 pieds carrés, I train people one-on-one.
Okay, wow.
So I train them yoga, meditation, and then we swim in the cold water.
Okay.
So all that was inspired from your Nordik Spa, but as an athlete, I always thought of a Nordik Spa for athletes.
Okay.
So I created, but I'm always one-on-one. I don't like big groups. So
I can't. I don't know I would be able to work
No,
out
no, no,
without
no,
my
no, no.
trainer now. I've become so lazy. I said, oh my God, my trainer's not here. I gotta go back to the email.
But the idea of doing weights, getting completely pumped, engorgé, and then swimming with that in cold water, and you get out, it's a whole different experience.
I can imagine.
Just because I tried your experience, and that was cool, but I wanted to take it next level as an athlete.
Well, that's nice.
And so I always thought about some kind of Nordik Spa for athletes. So even for the Ottawa centers, instead of sitting in the cold water, swim in it.
Yeah.
Because the blood moves more, you're healing faster.
You guys do cycling in the sauna? I had triathletes that were doing their cycling in the sauna.
Wow.
So, oh my God, okay, this is the next level. Like, I'm not going into any competition. I just want to be healthy. So like,
No, I keep the house cold at 15.
Good.
So you breathe cold air when you train to reduce lactic acid.
That's great.
And then you're all pumped, you're very, very hot, you swim in the cold water, you get out, it's a whole different experience.
Nice.
So I got that idea from your Nordik Spa.
Perfect.
So
happy that
was
motivated you to something.
Yes, I've always wanted to meet you.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you have enough? Like
that was amazing.
Water.
More than amazing. That was a wonderful story. Like